Wonderful. Yeah, I have pressed record, so we
You
can
have
rock and roll, beautiful lady. How's that?
rock and roll. Perfect.
Good
Absolutely perfect.
morning.
Good morning, Caroline.
So I'll do is my little to everybody back in Caroline's corner. It's been a while, which is lovely because this isn't about okay, we have to, sorry, actually this is saying, well, I press the little button here. Okay, yeah, we're not messing about with this. Cool. Now, I was saying to press the button. The button's pressed. So, yeah, what's really lovely, and I'm delighted to be here today, is that I always wait and trust the people that are meant to come. So we are here. So I'm just going to say hello to everybody and set the scene, and just to say, just the amount of people, because the whole intention of the podcast is that it's a safe place for conversations and unique conversations. And the whole idea behind it is with people who want to find meaning in their lives and to share with the world. And it's moving, and slowly you get lovely responses all globally, because we're just a small little planet. So it's lovely. It's a family affair. Myself, my son and my daughter, they're just amazing. They support me all the way. And I know their dad, who isn't physically here anymore, but is so in our hearts and so in our lives, John. I know how proud he is, and I can hear him going, Caroline, do it because you can. Because he always, I'd say, oh, I don't know about that. I say, oh, for Christ's sake, do it because you shagging can. So I am doing this because I can. And I get to have the most beautiful conversations that I just learn so much, that help me in my life and in my journey. So that's the intention, and it's stayed that way, and it's rocking that way. Very, very briefly, I have been a therapist. It must be coming up to 30 years now, and I chose to practice a couple of years ago, and that's how myself and beautiful Mary, who we're going to chat to, I felt safe, and I felt, yeah, I can lean back into practice, but it had to be with a particular type of person, an organization, and an organization is always the energy that's behind it, and that's what I was drawn to with you, Mary, which I am so glad. And I could hear me fella going, yeah, you step in there, missus, that's all right. That lady's a bit crazy like yourself. So, and we're both founders. So I'm working away with your good selves, and again online, which has just opened the world, and it's amazing working with lots of different people. And then I do some work with the Lydian, which is the employee assistance program, which is lovely. And then the Irish Kidney Association, who do amazing work. So that's that. I'm presently studying. I've been studying for the last 4.5 years. And I'm about to embark on my course with Alex, Viktor Frankl's grandson, Man's Search for Meaning. Phenomenal. He's taken all his archives, and I'm starting this week on a journey with the guys, which is exciting, and loads of work, but it doesn't feel like work, it's soul work. Throughout the years, I've worked for Maynooth, tutor, foundation and counselling skill, which was wonderful. Amnesty, part of a beautiful organisation, No Panic, which was around anxiety and different phobias. And I got to hang out with Social Entrepreneur Ireland and the Dennis O'Brien Foundation. So I got the opportunity to be mentored in business, strategy, everything, which is the head element, and then the heart bit. I rocked along with, and that was with the support of my amazing husband. And we set up an organisation, and phenomenal journey for me, my husband, and my children, and what we created, and why we created, which, who gives a shit? It's about the why, and that's something I do hold on to and will stay with me. So that's the general gist. Presently I'm working in admin in Centric in GP practice, and yeah, let's see where that goes. So that's that. And this morning I get to hang out with a gorgeous lady in Achill, and my intention is I'm going down this year, and I'm not getting in the water with you. Olivia does the same. So I will sit back and have a cup of coffee and watch you jump into the Atlantic.
Absolutely.
Mary, so lovely for me and you to hang out here, and I'm so looking forward to the conversation. Just flowing. How about you?
No, absolutely, Caroline. I can't wait. I actually was really excited because I suppose, without us knowing it, really, we go back an awful long way.
We do.
So it's about 15, I'd say 15, maybe 16 years ago,
Wow.
when I was part of an organization at the very beginnings of it, and the running of it. I suppose I took over more or less the running of it, and in a similar vein, we were working in a
Sorry,
similar.
I love this. This is your IT, and you go with it, and now it's back.
Oh, absolutely,
Now it's back.
absolutely. So,
Yeah.
so I don't know, did you catch what I said there?
You were saying you're part of an organization.
Yeah, so like yourself, it was a similar vein of an organization, and I remember hearing you on News Talk all them years ago, and I just thought, wow, this lady is doing amazing work. And then I suppose our paths crossed sort of indirectly, that I was doing work for your organization, going back maybe 7 years ago, 6 or
Sorry
7.
about this. No, it's back again. No, keep
Okay.
going. Yeah.
Maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I was doing some work, and
Yeah.
just really just blown away by the holding and the work that was being done within your organization at that
Thank you.
time. And then when your email came in, it was like, oh my God, Caroline McGuigan. And I couldn't wait for our interview.
It's great.
To talk with you. I really, and it was like, whoa. And I suppose, when you're in business, and it was like, oh my God, she wants to come to work with me. And that for me it just blew me away. And it was a real acknowledgement, I suppose, of the core and the passion that I have for the work that I'm doing. And it was like, oh my God, so she really gets me and gets the work that she has.
I really
Because
did. And
you
do.
can go anywhere in my opinion, with the wealth of work and experience and knowledge that you have, and also your continuing desire for learning.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, oh my God, you're so brave, because I think I've came to a place now, and maybe not, maybe I'm going to change and head
Yeah.
into learning again. But I suppose being working fully in a business, it sort of prevents me from a bit of that, even though I'm always learning. Every
Totally.
person I meet, I'm learning from. So yeah, so that was my Caroline feeling around. And what I love, love, love about you is your directness with kindness.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's like direct in a good way. And it's like you can't be doing with the bull and the fluff. It's like, just say it as it is, and
No, no more. No.
no
And
more.
I'm thinking of you, and I was looking at your journey, and you can help me out here. And thank
Yeah.
you for, just being so kind. And yeah, I was always to work with you and to bring me back into the practice. And I have a huge now my relationship with life is very clear. I ask.
Yeah.
I also know that my husband has my back. So as the organization, I became aware of it, and I looked, and the more I'm going, yeah, this is what you're to, and like that. I know for a good few years, and still just I needed to place myself where I wasn't particularly known, and I could just start my own way, but it had to be around the right energy, and that is absolutely that has made a huge difference, and has allowed me to move and learn loads. But I was looking at yourself, and you're a psychotherapist for way over 20 years. And you've done a lot of work as well with the Rape Crisis Network.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And you have done your master's in mindfulness-based interventions, which I'm really looking forward to all of it, just to chat. And then I was looking, you worked with the Irish Society of Protection of Cruelty to Children, which is just phenomenal work. And then as a group facilitator on mindfulness living. And then, like you said, I was looking at how you had managed a suicide prevention page and how that had grown, and out of that you knew that realization that communication is so much broader than sitting in a room, which is wonderful, but that people are looking, and I see now working with yourself and working on Zoom, that it has opened up the world for the people I get to work with, and I get to walk on that journey. But you seen that years ago, and I'd have been one of the therapists probably giving out shite about you, Mary. So I have to apologise.
I know,
I'd
but
have
I
been
would have too. Like, you know,
totally,
there was a real resistance initially, but yeah.
totally.
So yeah,
Oh, nonsense, but I would have held it. But again, we all grow and we evolve and
yeah.
all. But just that journey alone, and what you've done, and just when you hear your own journey, what's that like for you now today?
Yeah, there's a lot there. It's like, oh my gosh. And you know, I suppose, Caroline, and I'm beginning to own it. I have a huge interest, and I suppose life teaches us. I have a huge interest in
Yeah, yeah.
generational legacies. And I tell people that, and I own them both. Um, two real strong strands that came down my generational lineage. One is anxiety.
Yeah.
I get very anxious at times. And the other one is courage.
Mm.
And I know, and I'm beginning to own that part now. And I can feel emotion in that I have challenged so much in my life. And courage is that real strength that has came down with me. Um, and that is the piece, you know, and that learning, what you're saying is I have so learned to trust. Um, and again, the human part of me is there that comes out, and she doesn't trust, and you know, so I'm no different to anybody else. And I suppose that's the piece that, you know, because you're seen as a therapist, like it's like people has this assumption that you have it all sorted, all together, and it couldn't be further from the truth. We are triggered exactly the same way. And I think that's my drive, is to really tell people that to be human is that we own all of that. and
Totally.
and and it is not to be hard on yourself, because it is what's there right now, and allow it. So you know, and I always talk about the brats or the bradogs on the bus, and within myself, and you know, I have the bitch, I have all of them.
Good.
They're all there, and if you press whatever button, you'll get her, you know.
And tell me, it just came up as you were chatting there.
Yes.
Um, what's it like being a therapist, and do you like it, and why? Why are you being a therapist? I know that's loaded.
What's it like being a therapist?
Yes.
Okay, so being a therapist for me, um, and I don't know, does this fit? And again, we go with what's, you know, again, I'm challenging all the things, like online wasn't to be done. Um, I actually, it's a relationship. I fall in love with my clients in a way. I don't know how that sounds, but actually I do. And the falling in love is, and I know this may sound strange, but it's nearly like, and I have a huge emphasis on the beginning, you know. So the beginning, I see it like the conception, like it has to be minded. So you know, so that conception, it comes in, and it's nearly like we're in the womb together. So we're in the womb together, and it is about, you know, there's that stage of implantation, whether it's going to stay or it's going to go. And, you know, so it's like that's very tentative, the first few weeks of forming our relationship, and the trust, and my ability to hold. And that probably is one of my gifts. I do feel that I have a container in
Absolutely.
able to hold somebody. And so with that, then it is the growing, the birthing, the tantrums, the different stages, and the flying away. And so in a way, it's nearly like coming into, not, it's not a parenting, but it is in a way. I'm holding, but and maybe softly challenging, and so all of that sort of stuff. And it's like, wow. And it's like, I love, and then there's some, that you think, oh Jesus, like it can be really hard work.
Yeah,
And it's the understanding of that too, that everything doesn't run smooth, that we will come to these impasses, and all this stuff that's there. But trusting, and they're all teaching me. It's like,
totally.
it's
Yeah,
mad. They are what I'm learning, and it's like I'm actually growing with everyone. It's touching into a different part of my
yeah.
cellular system, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. And I
Yeah.
think just as you were chatting there, I was just looking at some pieces there. And what I was hearing is that, and I love when you describe on the bus and you have the bitch there, the bit in you and you, the devil.
I'm
And
the jealous one.
yeah, absolutely. I love when I say, did you go for a swim today? That little devil wouldn't come out for a swim today and I'd be gone. But what's really nice about that? Because once we come to this earth, part of pain and suffering, that is that human experience, exactly what you're saying. And for some bloody reason, right, we set the scene to go, oh, if they really knew me, or if they've seen how I manage things, or these thoughts that I have, or, I mean, Jesus, John O'Donoghue said it, if people heard your thoughts, you wouldn't leave your house in the morning, you know what I mean? Like, and that's like, just, I
Yeah.
can relate to that. But
Yeah.
just as you were chatting there and you're saying working with somebody else, it's like, yeah, we need to create a space, a container, and this is going to carry all this stuff that every single human being has. And then life happens and different things come our way. And it's like, it's in spite of or despite of, we are more than any given moment, any given experience. But that gets lost, and this whole comparison and that energy, and even more so, I thought it was fascinating. The two biggest addictions at the moment is distraction and FaceTime, the actual screen. And it's like, that's feeding in, I'm not good enough, I'm not, I need to look a particular way, I need to talk a particular way. Even in the world of therapy, in the world of mental health, in the world of all of it, there's such good intention and good love, and then there's this competitiveness of, we've got to be the best, and the organizations and the people and the division, and as we say, as therapists. And it's like you're saying, let's create a space, let all that in, let the shit in, let the crap in, let the
Absolutely.
pain in, let the suffering, because it's like what you said, that generational resonance, or what's coming through. We may carry an anxiety, and we know we bring with us our soul resonance. We may carry, we also have these other parts that have come through, called courage, called strength, called potential, called possibility. And that's what I'm hearing, Mary, is you're creating space to say, in you come.
Yeah.
And there's no judgment. It's going to be hard, it's going to hurt, but you're going to have a different relationship with those parts of yourself.
And it's to allow the person to feel safe enough that the defenses or the shackles start to just ease down, and allow up, and acceptance that it doesn't matter what you say, it's okay. It's okay, and once, because there'll be the testing, and so all of that, like, and we do it ourselves, like we
Totally.
need all of this testing, but it is, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And it's like the freeing of that, because again, the biggest prison that we have is the prison we put ourselves into. So
And
the freeing out of that.
tell me this, and I know we've 4 questions which we lean into at some stage.
Yeah.
I was absolutely, I know, is it Paul recently you done a podcast with?
Yes, Paul
Okay,
Stenson. Yes,
fabulous, absolutely, really, really the conversation. And also then you've done a piece, Mary, around grief, I think it was, and the
Yes,
brain and
Matthew Stritch. Yes.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Would you
Matthew
mind
Stritch,
just, and it doesn't have to be particular on grief, but just
yes.
how you explained, because the feedback from people was, I can understand what Mary is saying. Would you mind explaining that again?
Okay, so it's the piece about the brain and how the brain works, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
okay.
and I'll add in my piece, and then you'll see where the braddocks are.
Brilliant,
Okay,
brilliant, brilliant.
okay. So it's based on Dan Siegel's work, which he does about the brain, and that looks like a brain here, okay? And at the very back of our brain, there is what's called the animalistic, it's the animalistic or the primitive brain, okay? So that's here,
Yeah,
here. In the middle of our brain, we have the amygdala, okay?
okay,
So I do a lot of work about being at home in myself.
okay,
So I call this the fire alarm system of my home.
okay.
Okay, so this is the fire alarm system. So this houses, okay, if we use it as a house, and I'm a house or a home, this houses fight, flight, freeze. Okay, so our fire alarm, when that starts firing off like dee 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 dee, okay, our cerebral cortex here houses logic, clear thinking, reasoning, and empathy. But when that's firing,
Yeah,
logic, clear thinking, reasoning, and empathy goes out the window. So I'm not able. So when I'm in this panic place, the amygdala is firing, I'm not able to regulate. I'm completely dysregulated. And logic is gone, clear thinking is gone. I can't reason with anything, and I haven't any empathy because I can't. Okay.
mm,
And sometimes we can get animalistic,
yeah,
vicious, visceral. And we all, I know that place. I'm sure, Caroline, you know that place, okay?
absolutely.
Absolutely. So that is the visceral. So as I was doing my work, I suppose it really came to me, and I'm very visual. What comes to me is quite visual, and this is the piece that came to me is actually what part of human development is most animalistic. And the part that's most animalistic is sort of the newborn. So they don't care where they crap themselves. They don't care who's listening to them.
No,
They scream the house down and they get the attention. A bit like when I'm in my animalistic, all the attention is on me.
yeah,
Okay, so I have lost the plot and it's like, okay. This I see as my 2-year-old self. So
okay.
within us all, we have a toddler. And this is the one that sort of shows herself. This is the brat that shows herself to me, the toddler. I'm not going, it's too cold. Any excuse, you don't have to marry for God, mind
Yeah,
yourself. So very like that, or have that piece of cake, or so that's when this little one shows up. So it is again in a dysregulated, I'm not thinking clearly, I'm not thinking logically that it's good for me, and that's gone out the window, and I'm left here with this one. Okay, so in order, when that fires, that I'm dysregulated, but I need to know how to get it back. Okay, but
okay.
first, what I'm going to show you is what happens in relationship with somebody.
Yeah,
Okay, so in relationship with somebody, again, the lovely word, I love the words flipping the lid.
I
Okay,
know.
blowing my top. So when
Yeah,
I flip my lid, blow my top, when I become dysregulated, use all these words, okay? Not present. That's all them words. What happens to the person that I'm having the flipping of the lid with? Okay. Are they going to stay with their head, okay, like that, keeping logic and clear thinking? No, they're not. They're going to flip their lid too. So who's having the argument?
mm,
Plus the toddlers. Or if it gets vicious, and you'll see this maybe outside a nightclub,
yeah,
the newborns. Okay, so when all defenses are down and they're like, rawr, they're ready for battle. Okay, so I've no control over you. The only control I have in my life is over myself.
yeah.
So there's another really lovely saying, and these are age-old sayings, and that's why I
Mm,
say we know this stuff innately. We just need to be reminded.
yeah.
Okay, so it is about your man needs to cop onto himself. He needs to come to his senses.
Mm,
So what are my senses? So I see, I hear, I smell, I taste, I touch. And as I am doing that, actually, I am becoming present and I'm not as reactive.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm able to respond with clear thinking, logic, reasoning, and empathy. And what happens here? I can't stay angry when the other person is, and just gradually. So I suppose this as well, Caroline, tells me that, again, with what's going on in Gaza and
Oh,
Ukraine and all over the world, okay?
yeah.
And there are lots of people, it's all over the internet, and people are getting irate, panicked, all of this sort of stuff, which is actually, maybe it's awful to say it's not helping, but the way that we can really, really, really help with the wars that are going on in the world is that we look after the war that's going on within.
Mm.
And when I'm doing that, this other person's lid goes down, and it's a chain reaction of, can you see, we vibrate them.
Totally.
That's the vibrational outward into the world. So, and I suppose I had a lady once come to me, this is years ago, so I can't remember what war was going on. There was the war before Ukraine, where the boats were coming in, and it was horrific. But it's gone. My head, it's gone from my
Come
head.
back.
But this lady comes into me, and I had been seeing her for maybe about 6 months. And to say she was distraught was like, it was an understatement. And as she sat there, she must have watched a program the night before that really triggered her.
Yeah.
And as she was sitting there, it was like, I always, and again, it's this, the more than, I have a big belief in the
Me too, yeah.
whatever came for me very strongly in me. Oh my God, the war that's going on in your own head. Like, I had been working with her, so I was so aware of this war, that if she could begin to heal that, because actually it was nearly like a mirror reflection,
Yeah.
and that's what can be going on for a lot of us around that mirror reflection of the war that I have internally. Yeah. So
And
that's
tell me, no, because I'm very struck by that. And just something I wrote a few little pieces, and I was
yeah,
very struck there when you said around, and like that, it's one earth, and the energy and the vibration. We know scientifically now that
yes.
people say to me, oh, that energy stuff's a load of shite
We're
and
not
all.
witches
Yeah,
anymore. We have
yeah,
science
yeah.
to back it up.
We do, but I'd say go into a room, and if someone's pissed off, you will know, because their energy is going to come flying at you. But I definitely think like that, my own and people around and
Yeah,
situations and the whole lot. And my husband was an acupuncturist, John. So transcendental meditation or traditional Chinese medicines, they would have pillars.
yeah,
And the big thing was, you've got meridians and you've your acupoints, and it's about that energy inside you. If that's stagnated, that's where depression comes, anxiety comes, fear comes, rage comes, hate comes. It's stagnated and it's not moving. So I would have been around years watching that, and then my own take on life
yeah,
with the work I've done and how I lived. And I worked for 20 years around suicide specifically.
yeah,
So that debt is sitting, it's constantly, and that sort of the not knowing, and also that at any given time every human being can make that choice, and that impermanence. So, but a bit like you were saying, working with the lady, and I just to be fascinated, I was with you. It's just when you describe that, you can everyone can relate to it. But I know
yeah,
around the energy and vibration, we have a signature, and it's our consciousness. And when I think of, say, because myself and John would have sat all the time talking about that type, because he had to, like, your 4 years to even get your head around traditional medicine, and then to work, and then you've Eastern and Western, and the contradictions and the disagreeing and agreeing, and some of this stuff is 2,500 years old. But when I look and see, one of the big things John would have worked a lot on was energy and movement.
yeah,
And it's like the body holds score. So it's like it's coming, it's there. And and I've done it. We can throw drink on it, we can throw drugs on it, we can throw sex on it, we can throw anger, we can throw the whole shag and lot on it. And
absolutely.
that's fine, we'll do it. that being said, it's not going anywhere. It's still caught in your body. So I, like yourself, it's like, I remember myself and John sit, we watch Sky News every morning. So, you know, that's with tragically the wars going on in the world and the violence. And it's like, you'd say, I can't be in that country, but I can bear witness to it,
Yeah.
and I can hold people. And I
Yeah.
think, you know, I'm not going to underestimate that. People have held me in their heart, having experienced, you know, how my husband was physically brutally murdered, you know, and people held me when I couldn't hold, and I know I felt it. I felt it, but I felt the ones that could hold it with no agenda,
Yes.
looking from nothing. And I felt
Yeah.
the ones that had agendas and an expectation of you should be, and you disengage, you switch off. And I think that's where, as we say, with therapy and different things, but I know I know because I'm living it and lived it, that the people that have held the energy for me unconditionally, I feel it, and I'm able to slowly let it in. So like that, when you're saying about the lady and saying about the body holds score.
Oh, absolutely. And it does. And it's that, you know, I suppose, you know, when you look maybe on social media and you see some people getting so irate about other people maybe not doing their share,
Yeah.
for it's that piece that actually, you know, really we need to come back and focus, you know, and focus. And it's
Totally.
so lovely when we have and I know that too personally, when trauma happens in a family, like, and for yours was just, I mean, just so shattering. I suppose there's no word, there aren't any words, Caroline, to
No,
put on
no.
what you have been through. But that's slowly letting in, because I suppose, you know, what's going on for me as I'm talking is that, Mother of God, you have to put such a shield around you, to put a cover on the wound, and it's not, it's the ferocious, awful, raw wound that was there. And for anybody to come near you was, it was horrific.
Yeah.
So you had to keep them at a distance, but you also needed them there.
Yeah.
But they couldn't come near you. It was too fucking sore.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Too
Yeah.
sore.
Yeah.
And slowly that they're finding inroads, and that you're allowing that little opening, and cautious opening, because it's
Extremely
still so
cautious.
sore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so sore.
And I think like that, and as you know, I had so many of just beautiful human beings, and again, I'm guided by life over the last 4 years, but like that, when you start to go, you know, all of us, and I love what Viktor Frankl said, you know, everyone has their Auschwitz, everyone has their concentration
Oh,
camp in their
absolutely.
head. Yeah. And it's
Absolutely,
about,
yeah.
if we can sort of just lean back and go, okay, as opposed to touching it, going, let's create a bit of space and see what is possible, the potential for us as human beings. And I guess I'm thinking, so, you know, you have set up a phenomenal online counselling, and I think I'm there 2 years now,
Yeah,
Mrs.
I know. I know.
Jeez, yeah. And it's I just, you know, the people I'm working with, there's such a variety. I just think you've given me and other therapists access worldwide, and you've also given clients, they can go in, they can choose by, again, the energy in the profiles and who they want to work with. And that has, I'd often be with clients, it's lovely. And say something, they might bring their kids in and go, oh,
Yeah.
you know, and they say, oh, hi, how's it going? And they move on and all. And there's a freedom, you know, there's a freedom, and that's not taken away from going into rooms and all that. But for me, having done 20 years of in rooms and group work like yourself and all, it's just really lovely. How is it going for you? Because, and I'm going to say, right, having been a founder and run an organization, it is not, John used to say to me, holy shit, Caroline, you know, He said, not for the faint-hearted. And it's managing people, it's everyone's egos, it's a bit
Yes,
like a kindergarten
yes,
sometimes.
yes.
And everybody's in it together with good intentions, but also everybody wants to be special. And then, you know, so you've all the dynamics of running an organization. What's that like for you?
You know what, I don't know, it's speechless, trying to digest what is it like for me. So when I began, um, we began undercover, myself and Danica Monk, and we knew, and without a shadow of a doubt, that there were people that needed to be reached, but it was like it was going against everything that a therapist was supposed to do.
You know?
But we were so struck with the amount of people that were in crises,
Yeah.
that needed this container, because it was nearly like, okay, I'm going to share this. And these are my thoughts. I'm not saying it was as it was.
Absolutely.
But the organization that I was in was an open forum for people who were struggling with depression and suicide. Okay. And we were working day and night. And I'm going to use the analogy, I don't know why it's womb, and anyways, it was like we were breastfeeding or feeding, um on demand.
Yeah.
On demand. And they were coming in, and they needed to be fed and needed to be fed. They were in again, they were needing to be fed and they were needing to be fed. And it was like chaos.
Yeah.
And these people so needed structure. They needed a safety. It didn't feel like, because we had no boundaries in place around, we thought we needed to keep meeting the need, but actually, no, that was actually making it bigger. So we needed, I suppose that was the thinking, and like myself and Danica, like initially it was no way, like, you know, I had invested so many, I'd say 20 or 30,000 into training to be a psychotherapist. Like it's not whatever cheap. I can't.
Totally, yeah. No, I get you.
So here was I, and at the time I was a lone parent. I had 3 young
Yeah.
children, and Danica also was a lone parent, and she had a little one. So the two of us, like, it was like, oh my God. And we actually risked our whole training, our whole career, but we felt we had no other choice, because there were these people that actually, and it wasn't ego, it was none of that. It was that we had this, from wherever, maybe the more than, this desire, this need to put a structure in place. Um, and I began, I suppose I worked with one lady, and that lady, it was out of desperation, and I thought, oh my God, electric shock treatment, or me
Yeah.
doing therapy with her. And from there, I was blown away. I was blown away. She was thousands and thousands of miles away from me, and we were both right beside each other. And I couldn't believe it. And it was from there then that, so the only way that we had to then structure a
Yeah.
business around it to
Yeah.
hold it, and that was the piece. I've had to learn to be a business person, which goes against my grain. Even though I have a lot of business ideas, it goes against, because therapy isn't about money, and it isn't. And
It
but
is.
we had to, and in order to sustain it, you know, and I try to be as fair with therapists as well as with the people using our service, to give the best offering, for all. And we have tried and tested it every way, and this is the way. And it is through that then, as the years were going on, the only way you'd find us is if you were Googling counselling
Yeah.
online. You know, if you were specifically thinking, I wonder, could I get counselling online? That's where you'd find us. And about maybe 5 or 6 years, maybe 2 years before COVID, we were beginning to sit up a bit, because we knew that we had evidence to back. And again, I suppose in the psychotherapeutic world and training, it had become rigid, of what was and what is,
Yeah.
and again, we're asking of people that come to us to be more flexible and open.
Absolutely.
And yet we were holding this real rigidity and and I got it. Well, I got it myself because I didn't want to be an online therapist. So, but my God, our peers.
Mm.
And it wasn't nice. You know,
No.
you would think that we were doing it to get money. Myself and Danica, I mean, no word of a lie. We worked tirelessly all them years, and there was nothing out of it. We were trying to keep our own private practices going, you know, and all of that, and raise our children and build this um foundation, you know. So
Yeah.
this is the online counseling foundation, and we have, I suppose, the foundations are well and truly there now. And I and again, this is the part of me, Caroline, that I struggle with greatly still to this day.
Okay.
I couldn't sell myself for anything. And it's like, I was at a thing there last week and I met a guy that I know, and he said, "Now, Mary, go and do a bit of networking." Do you think I could go and do? So I'm quite shy.
Yeah.
You know, so that, but that also, you know, it's part of one of my qualities too. So, but it disables me in really wanting to get out there what we do, because I have
Yeah.
that passion about being there. Whoever needs it, we will do our best to meet you there. And that's our passion. And I was just looking, you know, we're 14 years now working. COVID has
Brilliant.
brought a lot more up, you know, and they're all coming up now. And a lot of them coming up as businesses with businessmen behind them. And that for me, you know, I suppose it icks in me. And it's around, and again, that's the part, maybe fear, that
Yeah.
actually I'm going to get lost, or counseling
Yeah.
online is going to get lost. So owning that little brat that's there too of fear, but also holding on to the solid foundations.
Yeah.
In 14 years, my thinking hasn't changed, and it is to normalize mental health in this world.
Yeah.
That it is as important as our physical health. There is nothing wrong with it. We all have it. And it is about embracing that. And that, I suppose, my dream is that Counselling Online becomes a household name, that people
Brilliant.
know. I know an
Brilliant.
organization, and I know that actually they're built from a place of heart and really wanting to reach people. And and
I
and that's the piece, you know,
love
Caroline.
it.
And
Yeah.
I'm really glad that I've said all that out as I've said it.
So am I, yeah. I'm just thinking, I was going, how's Mary? Do you know what struck me, really, really struck me, where I could relate? Because I know in the beginning, when because I'd come from a background, I had spent a number of years in psychiatry and
Yes,
heavy prescribed meds
yes,
and lack of access to one-to-one, and then all the shit and shite that goes with the system and diagnosis and stuff. Again, this is my experience,
yes,
exactly how it was. And out of it, and tragically, I did many years ago attempt suicide, and my husband was there when I survived it. And then I thought the anger get me going, and out of it, which was wonderful, I had access then to, because I'd come up with an idea. And I remember the systems and the service and the HSE, and originally for the first 8 years, there was no contact. But I also remember the NGOs, we were set up
mhm.
against each other
Oh,
as
wow,
well,
absolutely.
which is
Without a
bizarre.
doubt.
Bizarre, but I do remember I got the mentoring, so which was lovely. It was like, I was like, you're holding the heart of this. You are not being budged, and the program, a beautiful program emerged, and specifically for people who are suicidal or attempted
Yes,
suicide, and then an organization had to be built around it, the same thing. Now
mhm.
that is a journey in itself, but what I do, I got that. I was able to, it's like I held the heart piece, but
Yes,
you got to have the business perspective so you
yes,
can move it, and it can
yes,
it can
yes,
it can travel. And
yes,
I do remember now, bearing in mind I would have been a trained advocate in psychiatry. I'd studied the DSM book, so I also absolutely, to be a therapist myself, and John remortgaged the house, and it was what I wanted. I
yeah,
also had issues where the world of therapy, and I still do, where the bullshit is, and there's bullshit in everything, and there's bullshit in me, there's bullshit all around the
I
place.
agree.
So the bit I had an issue is that when I was working with therapists and go, no, they must go to psychiatry. And I said, what do you mean they must go to psychiatry? That's what they feckin' done to me. And it took me years to come off the meds. I've no problem with meds. I've no problem with anything once I'm given the right information and I choose from a place, and it's moving slowly but surely. But I remember it took very unique therapists to actually work the programs, because I said, you are not here to save anybody's life. Don't even think about that. I said,
Super.
you know, no, not to save anyone's life. We
No.
save our own lives, and nobody saved my life. I had to save my own life. So it was pitched in a particular way, and it grew, which was great, outside of the HSE, so it couldn't be restricted. And then the HSE had no choice but to work, because UCD had evaluated, Trinity had evaluated. People were saying, the way this is working, people are bearing witness to me. They understand that one of my options may be death by suicide, but these people are willing to work with me and go, okay, what might it be like for now to not choose death by suicide? So that had a whole journey, and the resistance and the madness and the craziness, and like yourself, I held steady fast to exactly what is to be. So what I like, and I think for anybody listening, and I have been around the block, I have worked in a lot of areas, and now I'm choosing to go global, which is wonderful. I would absolutely encourage anybody to invest in what you've created. And I am a business woman, and I have created a phenomenal organization. And the reason I would say to anybody, think about it, because you, first and foremost, you have held the essence of it, right? Because it's where organizations can go obscure. You've held the essence of it. You also understand you have to let go at some level. You want it, you want the business element so it can travel, okay? But you want the people with the right, if we go right back to, with that right energy, that right vibration, that'll challenge it, because that'll do you good as well. And I needed that, but will allow you to hold what's really important. But you need your facilitators and therapists also to go from the heart, but the business perspective, so that you can say to people, okay, there is a cost, but there's also a reduction as well. And if people considered seriously, they say, we want therapy to go global, and especially an organization now that has the evidence there, that people would turn around and go, actually, I'd like to sponsor some sessions for some people. I'm not a trained therapist yet. I'm not a trained therapist, but I do have access to finances. I would like to train, and again, like that, to say to people, what can you contribute? We do have donors, we do have sponsors who would like to add the extra bit. So from my learning, Mary, I think what you have is really, really valuable, and I work in it now with you, and I see how it's moving and growing. So to me, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, it is, and it feels like, at the moment I've grown. So she's 14, so she's a teenager.
I love the way you describe things. It's brilliant.
She's a teenager, so so it's getting to that place, and I'm not getting any younger, as well. So I'm 55 coming up next year. I know, but also it is. I see the energy, even though it and again, it's that minding of myself, because I can work very, very hard, and then I get really exhausted. So it's about, really, I suppose, the journey. And that's where mindfulness really came in, Caroline, for me, in that I have to say, and it's maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe, that I done the master's in, I'm thinking of what's his name, Paul Dalton. Paul in UCD, and Louise McHugh, no relation, but Louise McHugh. And Paul, on that very first day, that we arrived in UCD, and it was like, here I am at whatever age, 50, starting more study.
I can relate to it.
And he welcomed us home.
Yeah.
And I have to say, my shoulders, it was like, oh my God, I've landed. So over the course then of them 2 years, my whole body began to unfurl. That's the only
Yeah.
way I can describe it, because my psychotherapeutic training was massive. Really, really, I have to get, he was tough as nails.
Brilliant.
Jim O'Donoghue.
Same as myself, yeah. Brilliant.
Tough, and human. So there was lots of stuff, maybe, you know, so, but tough.
Yeah.
And Shari Frayne Masterson as well. These two. Dr. Ivor Brown as well would have done some of the training with me. So he would have trained me as well. And we were trained in, you know, it was like seeing the more than, and the labels, removing all of these labels, psychiatric medication as well, you know, so it was really working, going against the other trainings. And so what you're saying about you and the way you wanted it was the way we were trained. And it was like, oh, and around suicide as well. It was around empowerment.
Yeah.
You were giving it back, the responsibility, which means ability to respond, means, you know, responsibility, which means to adult. And you were bringing back the adult into the person, because it was the id or the bradog or the brat that was driving the bus.
Yeah.
And it was like that, if I could get to connect to get me back, because I was way out there and I'm out of control here, to get me back, that actually I can, and it's me that brings me back. You can't make me come to my senses. I'm the only one. So that's the empowerment, and that's the piece.
And I was just thinking there, and it's so, we were talking about language earlier, and it's like, do it because you can, you know, and I was thinking my husband would say, do it, do it because you can.
Wasn't that a lovely thing? And you have that as a mantra there in the back, and it's like, these are the beautiful seeds that are there that are growing.
Just when you say that, you know, it's lovely. I remember someone saying this to me one time. They said, because we have this idea, you know, not even being therapists, I'm going to say to that person what's good for them, and I'll tell them, and I'll do that, and then you wait till I tell you, oh, me wisdom, and I've done, and I have the same experience of you, which no one has, and and they go, so you should, right? And it's like, and then they don't do it, and people get pissed off. But do you know what I love? Yeah, do you know what I love? Plant the seeds, right, in others, right, and let go, because how and when they grow is not your business, but you can plant the seeds of possibility, of potential, of more than, you know. And the way that we would do that is, I feel, is to be, it's how we are in relation to, you know. And I know for me, and I've said it before, like, you know, when it's bad, it's bad. When it's messy, it's messy. When I'm on the floor, I'm on the floor. And there's a whole part of me going, am I able to? So there's all of that goes on. But I really, what it does for me is plant the seeds in others, but just let go. And you know what I'm thinking as well, because I'm watching the time, and I just, do you know what? I really enjoy just the conversation moving in the way that it's. How have you found it so far?
Oh, just lovely. No, I could talk all day.
Yeah, and it's just love. But there's a couple of questions, and again, if it's all right, and just for, you know, to hear your experience, Mary, and the organisation and the intentions of it, and hold tight to them, lady, because why not become a household name? Why not? But again, let's put out there for people.
And the reason, Caroline, just the reason to become a household name is that deep desire to reach people who need to be reached, you know, because if I am a household name, somebody might say, you know what, he's in the bed, you know, why don't you plant the seed of, there's somebody, you know. So if it's a household name, there's more chance that people aren't ending up in A&E.
And also, and I now working on the front line of a GP practice, I see it as well. It's like, I'm fascinated where life has positioned me. I'm going, really? But anyway, we won't even go there. But I think, like that, what I've learned from working online with your good selves is that you won't get a lot of people out of their rooms at the moment, and because of
No,
lots of reasons, but they let you in. They let you in, and that's a start. That's a start. So I'm very struck by that. So going to ask you a couple of questions here. Throw them out. Throw
okay.
them out. Who is your hero?
Who is my hero? I have one hero. I'm not going to name the person. Is
Absolutely.
that okay?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. A quality, maybe one quality or something, just to.
Oh, he's so my hero.
Okay. Okay.
He's so brave. Um, yeah, there's it's emotional, but he's my hero, and he's my hero.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. No, thank you very, very, very
Yeah.
much. What was your first job?
I could be brought to the labor, or my parents could be brought to the
I
labor.
know.
So I'd say about 10 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. The national school that I went to school in, there was a shop next door. And in the shop next door, it used to open at lunchtime. So the man, so he was his mother was my grandfather's great aunt, would you believe,
Okay.
or aunt. And so anyways, he must have said to me, mother, would she give me a hand or whatever? So I used to go in at lunchtime and help him serve the sweets out to so then I'd work on a Saturday. Okay.
Right.
So I'd work on a Saturday, and what would he do? But he would start playing card games with me, and he'd win the money that he was paying me.
I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely
So
love it.
from the age of 10, but also younger than that. So
Yeah.
I lived on Achill Island, and I'm back on Achill Island.
Yeah.
But we used to pick winkles. I don't know, do you know anything about winkles?
I know they're there and they exist, and I never pick them.
Right. Well, when you come to Achill, you're going picking winkles. So we picked winkles and we sold them by the hundredweight. So my mother would send us down for jam sandwiches, bag of jam sandwiches, and it was 7 of us in the house. So I'd say it was to get out of her hair. And down
Totally.
we go with sandwiches down, and there'd be fighting and kicking and all sorts
Brilliant.
going on down there. And on the way up, there was this little garden. Jeffy is the man's name, Jeffy's garden. And in that garden, there was gooseberry bushes. Well, we would fill our bellies sick of gooseberry. I mean, the real sour green ones. That would be
I love
crunchy.
it. Oh my
I'm
God.
watering even thinking about it. And that was our summers, and we'd
Yeah.
have the bog and the hay, and
Yeah.
so I suppose I come from a real work ethic
Yeah.
um family, and really proud of that. My
Yeah.
parents instilled that in me, and they're still here today, and as busy as ever, they haven't stopped.
Nope. No,
She
dead
doesn't
right.
stop. Yeah.
Dead right. I'm delighted.
So
And
that's
tell
it.
me, thank you. That's so lovely. I was with you on the journey there. Um, the other one thing you would say to your younger self.
Let go.
Yeah. Is when you say let go, if it's okay to ask. It's a big statement. You
Let
know what I
go.
mean?
Yeah. Let go of maybe that feeling of insecurity,
Okay.
that I'm not good enough.
Yeah. It's a biggie, isn't it? For
Yeah. It's
all
huge.
of us.
Yeah, and it holds me back, that
Yeah.
actually somebody's going to catch me out. That we just have this, and I'm
Yeah.
not good enough, and again, it's there. These seeds are there,
Yeah.
and I am letting go of that. But
Yeah.
so I suppose one of the pieces that did as well come down is that crippling anxiety and shyness. And that is a very Irish, don't put your head up, just
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
show your
Yeah.
head. I'm learning, and I'm trying, and bringing her with me, because
Good.
she's down there and she's really scared. So it's like that piece too.
Thank you. And then again, and I mean, we're just throwing these out because I know how full life is. A line or a quote or a statement that stands out, and maybe why.
So my lovely aunt, in America, Auntie Mary Teresa. I'm named after her, by the way. Don't because I suppose I was on my own, very young, 25, on my own with 3 children. Pete wasn't even born at that time, and I don't know, did she come home that summer and she said, Mary, you have to get up and do it for yourself. And it was the best piece of wisdom. And I have.
That's really hit me.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, and what a great thing to say. And that trusting and knowing that she knew it's it's within us all.
Of course.
But we become so dependent on others. You fix me, you fix me, you fix me. And I suppose, no, that's it. And the only person I have control over is myself. And that's the gift we give to people that come to us, is to hand that back to them.
Totally.
You know it. You know.
You've got this. And tell me this, I know we're going to finish up and it's been so lovely. And before, I know I'm smiling at a few IT issues, which I just went with, and they're fine. That, come here, we don't do all. And again, it's that allowing things to be. And
I love it. I love that.
Totally. And this conversation will go to where it needs to go to, and that I know. You know what I mean? That being said, would you mind just giving the details, if that's okay, of the organisation? And just a question. So there is a fee, but if somebody and again, that's why I was saying earlier, if people wanted to invest, that they could sponsor. But you do, I'm going to just ask you these questions, and if you wouldn't mind saying, is there reduction or what way does it work? So would you mind just giving the sort of the organisation, the contact details, and then the financial end of it as well, if that's okay?
Yeah. So I suppose it's very easy. It's www.counselling with 2 L's, counsellingonline.ie is our website. So in there you will find all our lovely therapists that you can choose who. It's all about empowerment. You choose who you want to work with. You choose how you want to work, telephone, text, or video. We do not get any funding, 0 funding, but every single one of our therapists have the same ethos and thinking as myself. So we reach people wherever they're at, and that is even if it's financially. So if you're struggling financially and can prove that to us, because I suppose some people will come in and try and, so students and people that are struggling financially, all our therapists offer a reduced rate. But just email us about that. So we are not a charity. That's the difference. And that also gives us voice to be able to say what we can say, I suppose, as well, in some cases, because sometimes we get afraid. It's not that we can't say it, but we're afraid in case there's repercussions. So what we have is it's like a gift voucher. So and it's amazing how many people buy gift vouchers for people of an apartment. And that's what we have. And if for anything, Mother's Day, anything, gift vouchers. And we're also, this is very new, is the group work that we are beginning to open up. That also makes it more affordable, because our therapy sessions are €70, which is, I feel, the best value that we can trying to organize a business. But group therapy will be like €25, which is so doable for so many more people. So I come into a group of like-minded people and be able to talk about what's maybe going on for me. So that's really,
and has the group book started yet, or is it
no,
June?
We're hoping in May.
Okay.
So our first
group
will be around eating disorders. One hopefully for eating disorders, and one for family members struggling with somebody with an eating disorder. So and what I would, and this is something, and it doesn't matter whose mental health social media page it is, please like and share it. That's you doing your bit for mental health. It's not just ours. I'd love you to be all sharing and liking ours, but everybody's. Because it is, the more we do it, the more we get that into a cellular way that it's okay. There's
I love
nothing
it.
wrong.
I love it. And I remember years and years ago, just it's come up as a memory now as you're talking. And I was sitting at the kitchen table, so pissed, so angry about my experiences and everything and all. And John said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm writing." He said, "What are you writing?" I said, "I don't know. I'm just writing. I'm so angry, I'm so fucking angry, and I don't know, and all that, and going on and all that." And I remember saying something. He said, "What did you say?" And I said, "Well, what if?" I said, "What if things had been different? What if?" And he says, "Right, go from that energy." And out of that energy, a huge organization was created and so much work in the whole lot. But it was like that trust, it's the two words, what if I had access to information? What if someone had said, "You're not off your chops, Caroline"? What if someone had said, "You are more than," and that was years ago. And that energy, right back to the beginning of the conversation. So like that around what we're chatting about now, even sharing and letting people know about all of what's going on out there. And just if it lands somewhere with somebody and that seed is planted, you just do not know, never underestimate how
And,
that
yeah,
can help someone.
and what you're saying, Caroline, like in the midst of your darkness, okay, and I again, I'm very visual. I can see the seed was sown in the midst of that darkness, and what you grew out of that seed. Just out of the real darkness and awfulness that you were the shit. And I always say the greenest grass
Mm,
is where the shit is.
mm,
So it is in that, like, wow, what you grew and what you have done for mental health in Ireland. I
thank
need to
you.
say.
Oh, thanks, Mary. And
So,
look
but
at
that,
it.
but and that came out of so dark a place,
Yeah.
and little did you know what was in store for you. So this more than that actually knew and brought you right down into the depths of darkness
Yeah.
within yourself.
And I guess a bit like you said earlier, I'm very protective still, even when you say it, which is lovely,
Yeah,
because of what has happened in the last four and a
I know
half
it's
years.
cool.
But it's okay because I trust
Yeah,
you and I can have the conversation with you. And there's a part of me able to allow that because I trust you. But also because there's so much pain and love and devastation and the trauma. It's just it has to be at a pace that I feel. So I can hear you. Thank you.
right, yeah. And that's it. And it's the part that you have, it's what you have, your piece.
Yeah,
Yeah, your piece.
thank you. I appreciate that. So, my dear darling, we are going to finish up. And is there anything, how are you? Is there anything else? Are you happy enough to finish up?
Oh yeah, no, I'm really happy. I'm really happy. But I suppose um coming on and thinking, what am I going to do? Because I'm always sort of talking about work, work, work. And I thought I had, sort of a story in my head, just to sort of let you know about the real me, even though this is the real me, but there's also the other parts of me,
Yeah,
as we all have.
yeah,
And to
absolutely.
share quickly, is there time for me? Okay.
Go for gold.
Okay. So one beautiful summer's day, I was going for a walk with my lovely, lovely, and I love her to bits, my sister-in-law Breda. And in Achill there is a secret beach. It's called Anna. So you have to sort of climb up and go down a mountain, and you land and you arrive in, and it's like going back into prehistoric times. And
God.
I should work for Achill Tourism because I love Achill. And I was telling her all about, and she was saying, "Oh, Mary, you're going up," and I was saying, "And this flower, and look at the view, and look at the clouds," and I was just on a high going up and so taken and mindful, right? And anyways, we got down and the whole thing was just so easy and so mindful and so lovely. And it came to getting up. So to get up out of Anna is a piece of work. So if you can imagine, I don't know, are you familiar too much with heather and how it grows? But anyways, the mountain was full of heather.
Okay.
And in order to get up, we were sort of holding on to the heather to pull ourselves up this mountain. And it's steep. But what happened? But it was maybe Maytime. We got into a hive of midges. So I don't know, has anybody ever witnessed being in a cloud of midges? But anyways, they were everywhere. And a few times in my life, I've came through these places where you get to a place where it would be easier to die than to
Yeah.
carry on where you
Yeah.
are. And
Yeah.
I mean that in all seriousness.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. So that was fine. And Breda at that time she'd been training for a marathon, so she was as fit as a fiddle. And my cod was out, my tongue was out. And I was trying to keep up with her, and she was yak, 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 yak. And the midges, because I was so slow, the midges were having a feast day, and the sweat, they just. So anyways, she lets out this roar, and she says, "Ah, I'm after swallowing a midge." And she reckons I came up like the Incredible Hulk. And I said, if you shut your fucking mouth.
I love it.
She tells everybody about Mindful Mary, but which so it's like, I'm as human as the rest, as we
I
all are.
love
And it's
it.
that piece, yeah. So
I love it. Oh, thank you. That has absolutely. And I can imagine you going, I can actually imagine it. Oh my God. You're not bringing me down to that beach when I get down
my
to
lungs, I was killed at her. Yeah, killed.
I love it. And thank you. That is absolutely gorgeous. And like that, I just the whole conversation moved, and it just lots of different ways, and it was really comfortable, and it's just, yeah, I just really, really enjoyed, and I just love when you just say the little one's out again, Caroline, and it's like, which one on the bus is out? And she go, that little bitch that won't get into the water today. And I to be nuts laughing. It's a beautiful visual, because it sort of gives you space, and it's not about judging. You go, there she is again.
Love
And
her.
yeah,
Love her.
yeah, and I love how you rock with that. And I've been using it, and I have more humor then when I go, oh, here's your one, that part of me. So thank you so much. And I'm thinking, I have a huge connection with synchronicity. We were always going to meet, and we moved, and we touched off many years ago, and now we're together. And it's like, let's see where this journey brings us individually, then together, and I love that idea, because we're time limited. We all have an amount of time here. We have a birth date and a death date, and my God, within that, try and lean into the places and the people that will help you with those seeds, that plant those little seeds, and encourage you as much as you can,
How lucky
yeah,
are we?
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
I'm
totally,
so lucky. I love our
likewise,
WhatsApp
likewise.
messages, and
I love it. I
all of
love
that.
it. I love it.
And it's lovely.
Yeah.
It does the heart, and it's that find things that feed the heart and
Yeah, and the soul. Well, listen, my dear, I'll say goodbye for now, and I know you'll be back in, and we'll have a little chat. Is that okay with you?
absolutely not a problem.
Thank you from the
And
bottom
thank you
of
for
my
having me,
heart.
Caroline. Thank you.
Pleasure.